What if I told you the loudest force in your life isn't your voice, it's your silence? Silence is not weakness. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. And today, I'll reveal the 5 secrets of silence that hold the key to unstoppable success. What if I told you that the clearest answers you've been chasing, the direction you've been craving, the truth you've been desperately searching for has never been missing? It's been buried under noise, the noise of opinions, the noise of judgment, the noise of expectations, the noise of a world that convinces you to listen to everything but yourself. And this is where silence enters. Because silence, when embraced, has the power to sharpen your vision in ways you cannot imagine. It strips away the clutter and reveals the raw, unfiltered truth. Think about it. How many times in life have you rushed into a decision because you were influenced by the voices around you? Friends telling you what's safe, family warning you about risks, society screaming what you should be doing. And somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, your own voice, your deepest instincts get drowned out. That's what noise does. It blinds you, not because you don't know what you want, but because you can't hear it anymore. Silence becomes the filter. It separates what is yours from what is theirs. It gives you the space to pause, to reflect, and to ask, what do I really want? Not what looks good, not what sounds good, but what feels true to me. In silence, vision sharpens because perspective widens. When you cut out distractions, you start to notice the details you've been overlooking. You see the patterns, the opportunities, the connections that noise kept hidden. It's like cleaning a dirty window. The view has always been there. But silence wipes the glass clean, and suddenly, you can see the path ahead with clarity. This is not about withdrawing from the world. It's about strengthening your ability to choose which part of the world deserves your attention. Silence doesn't make you blind to reality. Silence makes you see it with piercing accuracy. And let me be very clear, silence is not passive. Silence is active. It's not just about muting the noise outside. It's about confronting the noise within. Because the truth is, the loudest distractions are not out there. They're in here. The self-doubt, the fear, the anxiety, that relentless voice in your head that whispers, what if you fail? And when you sit in silence, those voices rise. They feel unbearable. That's why most people run from silence. They can't handle facing themselves. But here's the paradox. When you face the noise within, silence turns it into strength. You don't escape your doubts. You outgrow them. This is why the most successful people carve out silence in their lives. They meditate, they journal. They take long walks alone. Not because they're avoiding reality, but because they're sharpening their vision for it. They know that without silence, their decisions become reactions, their goals become imitations, and their lives become distractions. With silence, they act with precision. They know what to chase. They know what to ignore. They know where they're going, even when the world doesn't understand. And that right there is the difference between those who wander and those who lead. So let me ask you, when was the last time you allowed yourself silence? Real silence. No phone. No music. No endless scrolling, just you and your thoughts. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, good. Because that discomfort is the doorway. That discomfort is the sign you've been avoiding the very thing that could change your life. Silence sharpens your vision, not in spite of discomfort, but because of it. Because clarity is born when you stop running and start listening. The truth is, the world will never stop being loud. The opinions will never stop coming. The distractions will never stop competing for your attention. But here's what you can control: your choice to step into silence and reclaim your clarity. Because when you do, you'll no longer be blinded by the noise. You'll be guided by vision. And vision is what separates those who live by chance from those who live by choice. There's something you need to understand. Not every battle is meant to be fought. Not every comment deserves your attention. Not every provocation requires your reply. Yet so many of us bleed energy every single day because we don't know how to protect it. We react to everything, respond to everyone, and spread ourselves thin until there's nothing left for what truly matters. Silence, your intentional, disciplined silence, is not avoidance. It is not weakness. It is the shield that protects your energy from being drained by things unworthy of it. The world thrives on reaction. Social media wants your instant outrage. Gossip feeds off your need to defend yourself. Small-minded people seek to trigger you, to prove they can control your emotions. And the moment you give in, you hand them your power. But when you choose silence, you disrupt the game. You refuse to play on their terms. You stop pouring energy into fires that don't deserve your oxygen. Because here's the truth: energy is not infinite. Every time you waste it on noise, you rob it from your goals, your dreams, your growth. Silence protects you from that theft. Imagine this: someone criticizes you, mocks your ambition, doubts your ability. The impulse is to fight back, to prove them wrong, to defend yourself. But think about what happens when you do. You step into their arena. You argue on their level. You trade your focus for their validation. And even if you win the argument, you lose time, you lose peace, you lose energy. Silence flips the script. Silence says, I don't need to engage because my vision is bigger than your opinion. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Because real strength is not shown in how loud you roar. It's shown in how fiercely you protect your energy. Let's go deeper. Protecting your energy through silence is not just about ignoring negativity. It's about creating boundaries. You cannot be available to everything and everyone and still expect to succeed. The people who drain you with endless complaints, the environments that cloud your mind with drama, the distractions that constantly pull you away from your focus. These are leaks in your energy tank. Silence is how you seal those leaks. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't listen. You stop justifying your dreams to those who don't believe. You stop reacting to every voice that doesn't deserve space in your world. And in doing so, you take your energy back. But let's be clear, silence is not running away. It's choosing strategy over impulse. When you protect your energy, you gain control over when to speak and when to stay silent. You speak with impact, not out of exhaustion. You respond with power, not out of desperation. Think about the greatest leaders, thinkers, innovators. They don't spend their energy defending themselves to critics. They let their work do the talking. They conserve their fire for what matters. So when they finally speak, the world listens. Silence becomes their weapon of precision. It keeps their energy pure, their focus sharp, their momentum unstoppable. So here's the challenge: ask yourself, where are you wasting your energy? Who are you reacting to that doesn't deserve it? What arguments, what distractions, what meaningless noise is draining you? Protecting your energy through silence is not about being passive. It's about being powerful enough to walk away. It's about refusing to give what is most sacred, your energy, to what is most worthless. And when you master this, you step into a new level of freedom. You rise above. You become untouchable. Because silence is not absence. It is presence. It is presence of mind, presence of strength, presence of self-control. And when your energy is protected, nothing can break you. Remember, this silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. Every word you don't waste, every reaction you don't give, every ounce of energy you guard, it all becomes fuel for your greatness. Protect your energy with silence, and you protect your future. Respect is not demanded, it is earned. And one of the most underestimated ways you earn it is through silence. Think about the people who carry real influence. They don't rush to speak. They don't scramble to prove themselves. They don't waste words. Instead, they let their presence, their confidence, their silence create an aura that others cannot ignore. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the one who stays silent radiates authority. Why? Because silence suggests you don't need validation. You already own your power. Most people equate volume with strength. They believe the louder you argue, the more powerful you appear. But here's the truth: the louder you are, the more desperate you look. Silence flips the narrative. When you choose silence in moments, when others expect noise, you signal control. You show discipline. You demonstrate that you are not easily moved, not easily provoked, not easily manipulated. And that composure builds respect. Because people don't respect chaos. They respect calmness under fire. The individual who can stand tall, unmoved, and silent in the storm commands more respect than the one who screams into the wind. Let's be honest. Most of the time, people speak not to share wisdom, but to fill space, to feel important, to dominate attention. But silence exposes emptiness. Silence creates contrast. When you don't waste words, your words carry weight when you finally choose to speak. That's the difference between noise and impact. Words that are constant lose value. Words that are rare demand attention. And this is where silence becomes a strategy. It makes people lean in. It forces them to listen. It elevates your voice above the crowd. Not because you are louder, but because you are deliberate. This is not just about commanding respect in public. It's also about commanding respect in your personal life. Think about arguments, conflicts, disagreements. How many of those escalate because someone couldn't stay silent? How many relationships are damaged? How many bridges are burned? How many reputations are ruined? Simply because people couldn't hold back words that didn't need to be said. Silence, in those moments, is not surrender, It is wisdom. It is the choice to value dignity over impulse. And nothing commands respect more than someone who refuses to let anger or ego control their tongue. Respect grows when others realize you don't need to chase it. Silence communicates self-assurance. It tells the world, I am enough without proving it. And that confidence is magnetic. People are drawn to those who exude calm strength. They may not always like you, but they will respect you. Because silence leaves room for mystery. Silence makes people wonder, what are they thinking? What do they know that I don't? And that curiosity gives you leverage. Silence doesn't make you invisible. It makes you unforgettable. So here's the truth. If you want respect, stop shouting for it. Stop explaining yourself to people who've already made up their minds. Stop exhausting yourself trying to prove your worth. Instead, let your silence speak. Let your actions echo louder than your words. Let your composure intimidate, inspire, and influence. Because respect isn't built on noise, it's built on presence. And when your silence becomes a symbol of your strength, you will discover a new level of authority that no words could ever buy. Remember, this silence is not emptiness. It is command. Those who control their tongue control the room. Those who don't beg for respect receive it. And those who master silence will never have to ask for power, because power will already be theirs. Every great breakthrough in history was born not in chaos, but in silence. The ideas that shook the world didn't come from crowded rooms filled with endless chatter. They came from quiet spaces, from moments of solitude, from silence. Creativity doesn't thrive in noise. Noise distracts, noise scatters, noise fragments your focus until you're too drained to imagine. Silence, on the other hand, nourishes imagination. It clears the space for ideas to breathe. It gives birth to connections your mind couldn't see before. It is in silence that the impossible suddenly starts to feel possible. Think about the moments when your best ideas come to you. Rarely in the middle of a heated conversation. Rarely when the world is demanding your constant attention. It's often in the shower, on a quiet drive, during a long walk alone. Those moments where silence surrounds you, where there is no pressure to respond, no competition for your attention. Suddenly your brain unlocks. Suddenly, creativity flows. That's not coincidence. That's how your mind is wired. Silence isn't empty, it's a canvas. A blank page where your imagination gets to paint without restriction. The problem is, most people run from silence. They fill every second with distraction. Headphones in, notifications on, endless scrolling, constant noise. They confuse stimulation with inspiration. But stimulation exhausts. Inspiration requires stillness. You cannot hear the whispers of creativity if your world is filled with shouts of distraction. True innovation requires the courage to sit with silence long enough to hear the ideas rising inside you. And it requires discipline, because silence can feel uncomfortable. It can feel lonely. But if you embrace it, silence becomes the wellspring of your most brilliant work. Look at the artists, the writers, the inventors, the thinkers who changed the course of humanity. They all understood the power of solitude. They carved out time to disconnect from the world so they could reconnect with themselves. They sought silence not as an escape, but as a source. They knew that without silence, their creativity would remain buried under noise. And that's the mistake most people make. They assume creativity is a lightning bolt that strikes randomly. No. Creativity